I'm Jimmy Petruzzi, one of the trainers from the NLP Centre of Excellence, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's seminar on time management and productivity skills. We have a very powerful seminar lined up this evening, so if you don't mind, grab yourself a pen, a paper, and participate in these powerful exercises we're going to do this evening, and I'm sure you'll get the best out of the seminar. By all means, get yourself a coffee or a tea as well, sit down, relax, and let's move the journey forward. Time. Time is our biggest asset. Not even the most wealthiest person financially can buy time. I'm going to fire a few questions at you to get you to reflect a little bit on how you're spending your time. Do you find yourself enjoying every day? Do you get up in the morning and do you find yourself with that zest for life? Yes, I'm looking forward to getting up in the morning and taking the day on. Do you find yourself in a situation where you're very clear about the outcomes you want for the following day? Do you find yourself in a situation where you feel that you've got time to spare at the end of the close of play throughout the day? So you get towards the end of your working day and you feel you've comfortably managed all the things you need to do. Do you find yourself feeling generally calm throughout the day and just enjoying your job in general? There are some of the key factors that we need to reflect on to see if time is running us or whether we're running time. No matter who you are, no matter what mind it is, everybody has the same amount of time. Whether you've come up with one of the greatest inventions known to mankind or peoplekind, or whether you just live hand to mouth day by day, we've got the same accessible amount of time to all of us. And I don't deny some people have got different circumstances. Some people might be a single parent, you might have 3 or 4 kids, you might have 2 jobs. So of course we've all got different circumstances in life, yet in saying that we've still got, regardless of who you are, equal amounts of time. And how we use that time is key in our productivity. Do you find yourself working outside the hours of your designated work very often? Do you experience sleep problems at night, struggling to sleep? Do you find yourself skipping meals at work? Do you eat ready meals or just eat processed food crap to keep yourself going? Do you find yourself you're consistently dealing with these energy and time stealers? Has anyone ever called you a workaholic? If you answered yes to any number of the things that I've asked you, then you're in the right place. Now, I'm not saying that there's certain days where we do skip a meal, we do feel we've wasted a few hours here or there, we have struggled to sleep. We've all been there. I'm saying if consistently you get up in the morning, you're not enjoying what you're doing, or you're not getting as much done as you'd like to, then it calls for change. And it's not always drastic change. Sometimes just tweaking things a little bit here and there, just changing a few things here and there to help us on our way to achieve what we'd like to achieve. To make sure we seize the moment and the day and take every second that we can throughout the day and make it as productive as we possibly can as well. Time either runs us or we run time. I'm sure we've all been there. I've certainly been there myself when I've started new businesses or helped other people start their business from an observer point of view. I've seen people in a situation where they get run by the day. They get up in the morning and at the mercy of everything but anything, and slowly but surely things drift away. And they become overwhelmed and anxious, sometimes even feeling down, if you want to call it depression or whatever really. When we start getting overwhelmed, it's not a good place to be. So it makes sense to take a step back, have a breather, and just see things objectively, at least for the next hour or so. And if you take one thing away from tonight's seminar, I'm sure it'll take a lot more than that, then it's job done, which is key. But some of the key outcomes we're going to cover today is to identify where time is being wasted, how to make the very most of every second you've got throughout the day, to be more productive, to use your time more wisely and more effectively, to make sure the day doesn't run you and you run the day, how to plan, how to set goals throughout the day, and a lot more throughout tonight's seminar that we're going to cover. So you'll walk away from tonight's seminar having achieved some very powerful outcomes, and no doubt you'll take away information that I'm sure will help you on your journey of where you are and where you want to be. One of the most important things that I've learned through watching and learning from people and studying some of the best in the business, in sport and business, is the ability to say no to other people. At least when it's detrimental to ourselves. Okay, you might be thinking to yourself, well actually, you know what, I feel bad if I let that person down, if I say no to him, I say no to her. Yet in saying that, before you say yes to anybody else, you've got to think, are you saying no to yourself? If you try and please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. And it's really important that you look after your own backyard, your own back garden. As a coach, I tell my clients, before you can help anybody else, you've got to sort your own backyard out. If your back garden's in a mess, it's no good helping next door sort their back garden out. You've got to sort your own out first of all. And that's what's really important, to manage your time. And also, sometimes, I'm sure you've been in this situation before, you've gone out of your way for people, and it's always the ones you go out of your way for consistently and continuously that don't even appreciate what you do for them. And I'm not saying we're in this world to be appreciated and I did this for you and you did this for me and all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But what I am saying that ultimately, one of life's philosophies is please yourself before you go out there looking to please anybody else. Because if you're not in a good place mentally, then the likelihood is you're not going to help anyone else anyway. So the ability to say no is one of the things that we're going to look at in tonight's seminar. The world we live in today is a challenging world. There's a lot of challenges out there. The global economy isn't what it was last century, and it's very unlikely and improbable to go back to where it was in the last century. You turn on the TV, you read the papers, you do your research, and you'll know that things are a lot more challenging in certain quarters than they used to be in the last century. When I say that, I mean the going to school, university, job for life, pension, and all these things that we used to have in the last century. They're fast diminishing. So your greatest asset, as well as your education, and when I say education, not just academic education, I'm saying your ability to adapt to the ever-changing environment that we're in around us, is your time and how you use your time. Because if you're not using your time effectively, things will drift away and you will get left behind. And in an ever-changing world where things are becoming more challenging, it's very easy to get left so far behind, things drift away. And you end up in a situation where you find it more and more difficult to go forward. One thing to think about, and one thing that most successful people think about, is what do you want to achieve? And I say that in broad terms, not just throughout your day, generally speaking, to keep yourself focusing, well, what do I want to achieve? What's important to me? And we're going to look at that throughout tonight's seminar holistically as well, because there are more areas of our life than just work. It's not just about getting up in the morning and going to work. Life is also about enjoying being with your family, with your friends, and doing social activities and getting the balance. One of the key things to write down and think about, what do I want to achieve? And you can write the answer to the following question in any area or as many areas of your life as you care to think about. It's entirely up to you. This seminar is very well structured and carefully synchronized for you to take part in the exercises, and by the end of it you'll see a bit of a pattern emerging where you start to realize how to prioritize your daily activities so they can move you towards where you are now and where you want to be, because it's the journey that counts. My experience of studying thousands of people over many, many years, successful people in their field. I've studied business people, sports people, successful people in many forms of different disciplines, to find out how they did things. What did they do different? What makes somebody who can set up a successful business different to somebody else who struggles through life, going from job to job? What makes someone who's successful in sport different to someone who struggles to find their level? What makes anyone successful in any area? Someone who can write a book or a number of books, do the seminars, live the life they want to live. Curiosity got the best of me, and I studied many people. And whilst they're all unique in their own personality, one thing that certainly emerges is their ability to do some of the things that we're going to cover tonight effectively and efficiently, which is key. Recognizing an opportunity is fundamental in managing our time. I said earlier, the 21st century brings us new challenges. Many things have been brought in to make our life easier, like our phones, computer, internet. They're making life more challenging for a lot more people because they're wasting time and using them as a distraction. The opportunity that we have today is immense. You've only got to look at these young dot-com millionaires or even billionaires, so to speak. Look at people who are doing 4-hour or up to 4-hour working weeks, having profitable jobs and living their passion. People using technology in a way that serves them. There's plenty of opportunity out there if we keep up with the times. If you're living in the UK, you've got 500 million people in the EU and about 30 or 40 cities in the EU that you can get a plane to within 2 hours and trade and do conferences, do seminars, meet people, offer services. So there's never been a better time. And the same, I would say, goes for most countries in the Western world. Certainly the ones I've travelled to and done seminars in. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but we have to think beyond the box. We need to make sure we're creative, we use our time effectively, we become more productive, and we recognise the opportunities. And you might be saying, well, I'm not sure I can do that, Jim. I think I'm past and beyond that. It is never too late to make a fresh start in life. It's never too late to draw an underline of what's gone in the past and where you are now and where you want to be. All things are possible to those who believe. One thing that most successful people do, and I'm going to share some tips that many successful people do in managing their time and who are very productive, are some of the following processes we're going to look into. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I would suggest you get a pen and paper out, and if you're a coach yourself, you've got a coaching session for you. Who motivates the motivator? You can take some ideas and you can pass them on. If you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a salesperson, whatever you do, you'll find some of the tools and techniques of tonight's seminar very useful. There'll be some very thought-provoking questions to pierce through a lot of the distractions that we have throughout the course of the day. First of all, we need to understand where your time is currently going. One thing to ask yourself, and ask yourself of some of the activities you're going to do tomorrow, should I be doing this? Does this activity add value? Example, reading the paper excessively. Sitting down for half an hour, in verse having a 10-minute break, and just reading through the paper leisurely, and not focusing on what is going to get you to where you want to get to. And you might think, what's the big deal? But you multiply that on a daily basis, and you end up with, say, 2.5, 3 hours a week of meaningless activity that's not helping you move forward. What seems harmless, in the end, is costing you in more ways than one. So any activity that you do, ask yourself the question as you move forward in understanding how to manage your time. Should I be doing this? Is this adding value? Some people check Facebook 20, 30 times a day. They go on Twitter. They read papers. They watch the news. They watch soaps. I'm not telling you what you should and shouldn't do with your life. All I'm suggesting is have a moment to think. Are the activities that you are doing on a daily basis, and I challenge you to use this process for tomorrow and what you're doing tomorrow. Every activity that you're doing, ask yourself the question, is this what I should be doing? Is this adding value to my life? Not just business-wise, but holistically. So you come home, you decide you're going to put on the TV and catch up on the soap. Your family all gathered around the TV. And you might ask yourself, well actually, would I not be better served maybe going and playing some badminton, some football outside, or kicking a ball about, get some fresh air, go for a walk. What you do is entirely up to you. Yet, in saying that, these are just some questions that I'm going to fire you throughout tonight's seminar to provoke your thoughts. I've had access to many successful people in business and sport over many, many years, and I'm giving you an insight into how they generally think. And ask yourself, where could I spend my time better? So if you're doing one thing and you're not quite sure whether it's productive or worthwhile doing, where could I spend my time better? So that half an hour reading the paper at 11 o'clock in the morning to half 11, could I be doing something different? Could I pick up the phone and arrange a business meeting or a sales call? Could I send an email and connect with somebody? Could I go for a walk around the block? Could I meditate? Could I visualize? Could I watch some education on YouTube? Could I learn something new? And one of the things to bear in mind, if that task is costing you, then it's time to get rid of it and change it. And ask yourself, how can I get rid of that task so it's not wasting any more of my time? Because you're finding yourself repeat a task over and over and over again, and it's not getting you anywhere nearer to where you want to be. Maybe it might be a task you could delegate that's not serving you no more. Or maybe it might be a task that doesn't really need to be done. It's a complete waste of time. You've got to think, can I replace one task with another? Or ultimately, can I just do away with it completely? One of the questions I ask when I coach new business startups, how many income producing activities are you doing? Because what I find really interesting, and I'm going into a little bit more detail through tonight's seminar, whenever I coach new business startups, a lot of people tell me how busy they are doing X, Y, Z. Yet in saying that, how many of the activities they are doing are producing income? So they get up in the morning, they drive to work or to the office, they go to a network group. They go to a network group that ultimately sometimes is a complete waste of time. There's no decision makers there. It's almost like a social group. Then by the end of it, they go for a meeting with someone who can't help them in any way, shape or form. Then they go for a lunch. Then after lunch, they decide to go shopping, check their Facebook, read a paper. Yeah, it sounds great socially. They get home and they find themselves responding to emails till 11, 12 at night, and they think they're being busy. How many of those activities have actually brought them any income? How many? Because the difference between active and productive. Being active is one thing, which is fine. It's a start. Being productive is different. Being productive, we need concentration, focus, and organisation. Being active, anyone can get up in the morning and get busy doing nothing. Or at least nothing productive in moving towards where I want to go. Time being your biggest asset. You don't use it wisely, you can't buy it back, and it soon passes you by. Just think of the last 10 years and how quick they've gone. The next 10 years will go equally, if not quicker. Think about what you've accomplished. You might be happy with that, and that's great. You might not. You might think you could do more. We can always improve. Successful people in their field are very good at doing the following exercise. Whether they're in business or in sport, they eliminate all or as many distractions as they possibly can. Think about it. How many distractions have you had today? How often have you been distracted by one thing or the other? Or how often have you looked for distractions to take your mind off what you need to do to support your outcome? Because if you're working in a job you're not enjoying and you want to start your own business, you need the income from the job you might not be enjoying to support you and your family, and then you find yourself doing things that aren't supporting you towards where you want to go to set up your own business. Yeah, you think, well, I'll put it off. I'll put off registering my company at my company's house. I'll put off doing a website. I'll put off getting in touch with someone who can help you move towards where you want to be. I'll put that off. I'll put this off. What impact is that having in your life? And think about it, what steps can you take? What steps can you take to avoid these distractions from having an impact on your focus? Because clarity is power, and focus, like a laser beam cutting through steel, is what's required to succeed in any endeavour, whether it be business or sport or any endeavour, which is key. And think about how will you deal with that distraction. So if someone decides to call you at lunch because they are bored and fancy a chat, do you pick the phone up? Or do you just keep the phone off? Or do you ignore it and get back to them later? And make sure you take care of your priority. You might have the best part of an hour at lunchtime to get one or two things done. Or even just relax and have your lunch and recharge your mind. Yet in saying that, you're finding yourself dealing with things that aren't helping you or the other person in any way, shape or form. Or it might be that you decide, you know what, I'll read the latest on Hello magazine. Or you might decide, I'll read the paper from the front page to the back and the back to the front to fill in some gaps. You might decide, I'll check my Facebook or my Twitter regularly for one reason or the other. I'm not saying what is right or wrong in saying that. All I'm saying, if it's not supporting your outcome, then you might want to decide what you'll do in future to avoid that distraction. So write it down. If there's anything that is a distraction in your life on a daily basis or going into tomorrow, anything you think of that could potentially distract you from getting from A to B, then write it down and change it. Keep a time management diary, at least in the interim, at least in the beginning when you're starting to learn to manage your time. Why a diary? Because it's good to reflect on things that are working and things that aren't working. Because if you spend your time on activities that aren't supporting your outcome, then the likelihood is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different is the definition of insanity. It's not going to change. And you can reflect on what's working really well and do more of what's working well. So it's always worthwhile to keep a time management diary to work out exactly where your time is going and how effective you're using your time. Because procrastination is one of the biggest destroyers of people's goals, outcomes, dreams, living a quality life. People tend to procrastinate. And what they do when they procrastinate? Well, the common things are watching excessive TV, surfing the internet, checking their phones, reading papers, oversleeping. And when you think about it, it might not seem like a lot. Bit by bit, it adds up. So if you're watching an hour more TV than is worth watching on a daily basis, that's 5 hours a week. In a month, you're talking 20 hours. It's incredible. Almost half a week to get done so many things you could be getting done. And you put on top of that surfing the internet for meaningless stuff. You add to that reading the paper every day. You add to that getting up half an hour later. And then you wonder why certain people end up with a rude awakening in their life. I'm not saying not to have downtime and leisure time, because it's important as well. All I'm saying, if you've got priorities, then make sure you factor them in to your day. Because procrastination is one of the biggest destroyers of people succeeding. One thing to think about, in case that we will do really well as well, and you can do as well, think of a situation where you have procrastinated, or where you might procrastinate, and ask yourself the question, why am I procrastinating in a situation? Why am I putting that thing off? Why is it I need to submit that proposal? Why is it I need to get that website done? Why is it I need to get in touch with the accountant? Why is it I need to do my tax return? Why is it I need to make that sales call? Why am I procrastinating? What did you do instead of doing what you should have been doing? And take a moment to think about that and write it down. And what was the outcome? And was there any negative consequences on procrastinating? So you decide to sleep an extra hour in bed for one reason or the other, when you could have been up in the morning and making those sales calls, those business calls. Somebody else is, they're getting the appointments, they're going out, they're making the sales, you're falling further and further behind, and in the month you're wondering why you've fallen short miserably of achieving your target. Ask yourself, why am I procrastinating? Do I need that extra hour in bed? Am I really that tired? What should I be doing instead? Should I be getting up in the morning and listening to motivational tape? And getting focused and planning? Should I be making phone calls? What was the outcome of the procrastination? What are negative consequences? You might want to write a book. You might want to change job. You might get home from work and just slump on the sofa and do nothing but watch TV for the rest of the evening. Yet you're not happy in your job. Or you might be on your own and looking for a relationship. And you've got to think to yourself the negative consequences on not taking action and moving forward. Or spending your time in areas that are just helping you to distract the time you've got. Killing time, so to speak. And it can be very challenging sometimes, certain distractions. The big ones. Your Facebook, sometimes people tidy the house twice over because they just want to distract themselves from doing what they need to do. The phone, any excuse to pick it up or find somebody else up. Noise, everyone, anything. And there's a time and place for all things. If you've got families and kids, it might be a good idea to prioritise time with them. Quality time. Quality time is key. And that's what's really important, to make sure if you are spending time with friends and family, then it's quality time. No point in bringing your phone out on a weekend on a Sunday when you're at Sunday lunch and speaking to someone on the phone. Get that done on a Monday. Maybe a Monday evening, or Monday throughout the day, or on the Friday. Personal phone calls add up. Personal emails when you're at work. People sending you these meaningless quizzes that are on social media that are time stealers, instant messaging, irrelevant meeting. These aren't exhaustive, but they are distractions. And they are distractions from the outcomes that will serve us best in where we want to go in life. So getting rid of a lot of these distractions, at first it might be a little bit challenging, yet as you go along, you'll find it quite fruitful and positive, because you'll be doing more of the stuff you want to do. And to do that, we need to plan our success. Set priorities based on your values and what's important to you, what drives you is key. Plan. Have goals, 5-year, 10-year goals. Do a 1-month plan, a weekly plan, a daily plan. It's entirely up to you. And have the ability to categorize what requires doing. By planning, you can assess what needs must. So one of the key things is to plan. Maybe plan the day before, or plan your week on a Sunday or a Friday, whenever works for you. And you decide throughout the day what requires what. Is it urgent? Do I need to contact that person? Do I need to do that activity? Do I need to do that task? Can I delegate that? Can I drop that? I was talking to a colleague of mine the other day, and he said to me how he managed to sort a computer virus out on his computer. I said, that's great. I said, how long did it take you to do that? Because it took me the best part of the day, but I saved 30, 40 quid buying a new antivirus. And I saved, I don't know, 30 or 40 quid, whatever it cost, taking it to a store that could fix it for him. And I thought to myself, well, that time you put in sorting it out is going to cost you a lot more. Because it's very easy, particularly if you start up in business, doing everything but you start the business for to do. So you decide, okay, I'm going to start a new business because you really enjoy being a coach, being a therapist, being a personal trainer, whatever your passion is, yet in the end you do everything but what you intended to start the business for, because you're spending your time doing computer viruses, doing websites, doing all the things that you possibly left the other job for. And you're cleaning, and I'm not saying that, you know, everyone's got the luxury to delegate and can afford to get someone to do certain things, yet in saying that, sometimes you've got to weigh things up. Is 30 or 40 pounds for someone to do a page on your website going to be more fruitful for you than you spending time on it when you could be out there doing a meeting? One meeting can bring you in a lot more money, one more thing. Getting a new client, selling a new product, instead of getting bogged down. Planning, preparing. So these are certain things to think about. What can you delegate? Cleaning, laundry, maybe washing the car, maybe get a garden if you can afford it. You can't afford it, maybe do a skills trade. I don't know, but where you can delegate, it makes a lot of sense to do so and free your time up to generate revenue, doing what you love doing best is key. And knowing what to drop as well. You know, certain people are very good at putting certain things on you, and you've got to be disciplined enough to say, you know what, sorry, I'm dropping that. That's not helping me in any way, shape or form. Running your own race and planning your own stuff is key. One of the ways to plan, which is quite powerful and useful, is to do a weekly planner. I have a weekly planner. I've always used one, even when I was doing sport as well. When I'm coaching sports people too, I do the weekly planner, coaching in business, because you know where you're spending your time. So you might decide, you know what, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, you've come back from taking your family to Sunday lunch, or you've gone for a country walk, you're back from the beach, or whatever really, you might have a Sunday afternoon in, and just take yourself away for an hour. And have a vision of what your long-term goals are and short-term goals are, and plan your week accordingly. And during the weekly plan, you might want to add certain things that are in other areas of your life to get the balance. That's entirely up to you. where you want to put things in your weekly planner, like going for a walk or going to the cinema, or personal things as well. You might want to just keep it strictly for your professional existence. And you can look at that and think, well, would I be happy with that? If I accomplish that at the end of the week, would I take that? Am I happy with that? If not, you've got to look at it and make changes. One of the most easiest and powerful ways to make sure you're using your time effectively. If you need a template, feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to email you a template. I'll give you my email address at the end of the seminar. A very powerful tool. Very powerful tool, and it's always useful to do your weekly planning and think future pace. So you might plan from Monday to Friday, for example. You might think by Friday afternoon, close of play, would I be happy with that? Does that work for me? Is that moving me towards the goals I want to achieve? If it's not, then you've got to ask yourself, where and how do I make changes? Then keeping to that plan. And one of the ways to keep to the plan we'll talk about shortly, yet I always think it's important, never get so busy, never get too busy just on work. Because sometimes we can forget to make a life for ourselves. Sometimes we need to have that weekend, or at least a day, a week, where you put the bat and ball away completely and recharge the mind and the batteries. What price do you put on just that escapism, if you want to call it that? You do a job you really enjoy, there'll be no need to escape. But then there is that danger too. If you do a job you really enjoy doing, you end up taking more on, and more and more and more. And other areas of life start getting neglected. So the key is really to get that balance. The balance in life. Making sure in your week you make plenty of time for your family, your career, your health, your friends. All these contribute towards a healthy existence. Because if you spend all your time in your career, what will happen to your family life and your health and your friends? You'll have no friends, your family will probably walk out, and your health will diminish. If you spend all your time on your health, it doesn't bode well for career, family, friends. If you spend all your time on your family, you will have no money. So getting a balance and sustaining that balance isn't always easy. Yet in saying that, like all things in life, it's about learning, doing, assessing, deciding on a weekly basis where you might need to spend more time on. All things are relative. You might decide one week I'll do an extra walk, or go to the gym one night extra. You might decide one week I'll take my family out for a game of bowling. You might decide one week I'll spend an extra evening doing a sales seminar, whatever really. Or you might decide one week you'll go around and see some friends to watch a football game, whatever. Yet in saying that, if you can integrate all that throughout your week, then you're more than likely to get a balance. And that balance, because I think it's really important, and what successful people tend to do very, really well, is they're in a good place here. If you're in a good place mentally, and I'm sure you can understand, and you've been in situations yourself, then things tend to flow a little bit more. When things are chaotic, and you feel anxious and overwhelmed and nervous, and things aren't going well, I'm not saying in life there's a perfect existence, yet in saying that, when things are taken care of, you're generally in a better place as a knock-on effect. So I would say get that balance in life. Set your life goals. This is a different seminar for another day. Set your career, your lifestyle, your hobbies, your relationships, your family, your wellness, your financial. Things that make the life or the world that we live in. The life coaches out there, the wheel of life, you'll be familiar with that. Getting a balanced life, setting goals in every area of your life is quite important. And putting it into your weekly plan, I think, is really important as well. From a business point of view, even a personal point of view, setting SMART goals, your acronym SMART goals, you've probably done it before, if you've done it before, it's new information, you've done it before, we do reinforced learning. We won't spend too much time going through the process. Yet in saying that, the key is to make your goals specific. What do I want? It might be you want to arrange 20 sales calls, make 20 sales, make X amount of money. The more specific you are, the easier it is for your mind to navigate towards what you want. Make it measurable. How are you going to measure success? Are you going to measure success by making 20 sales calls? Are you going to measure success by selling 5 products? All things are relative. Is it achievable? Are you overwhelming yourself? Are you biting more than you can chew? Sometimes you've got to bear in mind that less is more. Better to put as much energy as you can into something really, really well than spread yourself too thin. It's like when I work with people who are setting up in business from a therapy point of view, and they enter the market at a very low price to get a foot in the door, yet in saying that the danger is if they're seeing 10 clients that say, for argument's sake, £30 a session, the quality won't be as good as seeing free at £100. So it's your call. Relevant is what you're doing relevant as well, the goal towards where you want to be specifically. So it's not good having one goal, which is to make 20 sales calls, or sell 5 products, or do 5 presentations. Then what you're doing to support and reinforce that goal throughout the week has no relevance. You end up going to meetings and you end up going to networking groups, or you might do a presentation networking group that's got no relevance to what you're doing. Really important that you budget your time wisely. And time as well. How are you going to measure? How are you going to fit that in? Throughout the course of the day, can it be done? Plan your day diligently to make sure you get the very most out of every situation. And that's really important, because you might decide, you know what, I'll do a presentation at 10 o'clock, I'll wrap that up and I'll go for a meeting at 2 o'clock, after the meeting at 2 o'clock. How are you going to structure that? We've got time to prepare. We've got time to go in there and give it 110%, which is required to get the very best out of yourself. Planning your day. A goal without a plan is just a wish. You need to have a plan. One of the things I do with my clients when I deliver training courses is an outcome plan. Be very clear, as I mentioned earlier, about your outcome and have clarity. Be very clear. Clarity is power. The clearer you are, the more powerful it is. And it's always useful to plan the day before, because if you plan the day before, you can do what I said earlier with the weekly planner, is decide by the close of play tomorrow, read your planner, 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, would I be happy with that? And if it's yes, great. If not, change it. You're in complete control. Change it. So plan tomorrow. Let's do it now. You've got a pen and paper, give it a go. You're not comfortable doing anything you don't want to do, but what I would say is let's give it a go. Give it a shot and see what happens. So let's give it a go. Maybe do a rough outline of what you're going to do tomorrow. What's the main outcome or outcomes you'd like to achieve tomorrow? If you're writing a book, you're building a new business, you're in sales, what are some of the main outcomes you want to achieve tomorrow, which you keep very clear and defined? Now, having done that, decide. I've used the ballpark figure of 5. You can use as many or as less as you want. Things to do to move the project forward or work towards the outcome, which will help you to focus like a laser beam on achieving what you want. So, for example, if you're writing a book, it might be that you spend an hour writing a page or pages or a chapter. It might be that you send it off to a proofreader. It might be that you contact a publisher. Or it might be you're in sales and you decide that you want to make 5 sales tomorrow. To do that, then we can action a plan. But think of 5 things to move your outcome forward. You don't think of 5 immediately. Think of as many or as less as you want, really. You might have more than 5, you might have less than 5. Think of what you need to do to move forward towards your outcome tomorrow. And this will put you in the driving seat. Then be disciplined and focused on where you need to go, running your own race. So for example, if you need to sell 5 sales tomorrow to achieve your sales target, it might be that you pick up the phones and speak to clients that you've sold to in the past. It might be that you organise a presentation at a new company you've never done in your business before. It might be you decide to go to a networking group where there are decision makers. It might be you call someone who's a decision maker and arrange a meeting. So you're focused like a laser beam on where you want to go. Or you're starting a new business. It might be you contact your accountant tomorrow, the business manager. You contact a coach. You phone somebody else who's doing what you want to do and get some pointers. These are key in you achieving what you want. Now think about the people you need to get in touch with, no matter what tomorrow. Who do you need to get in touch with? It could be the accountant, the book publisher, the website designer. Key people in moving you forward to where you want to go. The new manager, the new director of that company. Key people you need to reach out to no matter what. There might be a new managing director in the company you've done sales for in the past. Make it your job to get on the phone tomorrow and give them a call. Can I come in? I've got a proposal for you. Making sure you're in the driving seat. So write a list of people. It might be that you decide to contact somebody who's doing what you want to do. And you decide to make it a priority to give them a call or be putting it off. People you need to reach out to no matter what. People you're waiting on for a decision. It might be you went for a job interview last week and you're still waiting for an answer. And give them a call. If it's in the specified time frame. It might be that you need an answer to a presentation you did last week, or they're buying from you from a sales point of view. Then give them a call. Of course, if it's in the time frame specified, if they told you to call back in 2 weeks, then I wouldn't suggest you call back tomorrow. It's only been a couple of days. Yet in saying that, people you're waiting on, it might be you've spoken to the accountant and he's not got back to you about your tax return. Give him a call or her a call. It might be that the website, people are dragging their feet. You need your website up. If you don't get your website up next week, it's going to cost you money. You can't do sales. You can't promote your business. Then give them a call. You're waiting on them. Assertiveness is key. There's no point calling one of your friends up and moaning about it and saying, oh, you wouldn't believe it. I've paid these website people and it's been 3 weeks. They haven't done it for me yet. Or you might decide to call another friend and say, did you see what happened on that soap last night? Or did you see what happened to that star? Or what? That's not relevant to you. Don't waste your time. Time is of the essence. People you're waiting on, they need to be called. Get on the phone or email. Where are we with things? What's going on? I need to know where I stand. Assertiveness is key. Successful people, they don't sit about twiddling their thumbs like this. I wonder if he'll call, I wonder if she'll call. Sometimes you've got to get out and be proactive and make it happen. Call them. If it's going to affect your life, call. If you need the answer, then make that call or send that email. People you need to call to move things forward, or write a list of people you need to call to move you from A to B, from where you are to your outcome. It could be the accountant, the business manager. It could be that person who's doing what you want to do. So you write a list of all the people you need something from. The proofreader. You got an outcome. and you want to achieve it, or you've started your business or you're in business, bearing in mind that a lot of businesses end up going bust in the first few years, and beyond that they diminish further and further, then you've got to be proactive and keep going. If you work with somebody else, you might decide, well, actually, you know what, I'll write a list of all the potential clients or past clients who've used the service in the past, and I'll give them a courtesy call. Like a gym, for example. How often do you get a gym call the existing client base asking them, are you happy? You've got a program. Is the program working for you? A lot of people spend a lot of time speaking to people who can't help them anyway. There's no point. There's no point phoning somebody up and talking about your problem who can't help you. You're wasting your time and theirs. And ultimately, priorities. What needs must tomorrow? Even if you get one thing done, and one thing only that's going to drive you towards the outcome you want, it's better than doing 100 things that are just completely meaningless. Distractions. So prioritizing key. You need the website up and running tomorrow. Make it your job. Tax return got to be done tomorrow. Make it your job. Sales presentation got to be done tomorrow. Make it your job. Priorities are key. Your priorities ultimately will help you achieve the outcomes you want, which is really important. So write a list of all the things that are priorities for you and make sure you get them done tomorrow. Go out and do it. Because the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And even if you do one thing every day that's moving you towards your outcome, it's better than doing 1,000 things every day that are completely meaningless and just complete distractions. Eliminate low-value tasks. And these are the things that we talked about earlier, things that bring no return whatsoever. Going on social media extensively, surfing the internet extensively for meaningless information, personal phone calls when you should be working and focused. Low value tasks. And you can write a list of all the low value tasks that you might have done today and are considering doing tomorrow, yet with this invaluable information you're going to decide to do otherwise tomorrow. So eliminating low value tasks. So if the first thing you're doing in the morning is log on to social media, you might decide to eliminate that and maybe some incantations or affirmations or focus. Get myself pumped up. You might decide that tomorrow I'm not going to bother reading the paper. It's a waste of a half an hour. You might decide that you're not going to go to lunch with the same group of people that you've gone the last few days in a row who've got nothing but negativity to talk about. People who talk about they don't like their job, they don't like this, they don't like that. You might decide at lunchtime I'll just go in the car and listen to a CD, or I'll hang around somebody who's more productive. So eliminating low value tasks. You might decide in the evening I'm not going to watch that soap, I'm going to leave it. Give it a go for one day and see what happens. Because the more outcome focused we are, the more chance we've got of achieving what we want. Now I've got a following exercise for you to do. Get your pen, get your paper, let's give it a go. First of all, decide, and we can use tomorrow as the template. Really powerful exercise. Decide on what it is that you need to do as an outcome. Let's just take one outcome, for example. Choose one outcome. It could be a website, it could be a chapter of your book, and your book published. It could be making that sales call. Whatever works for you. It could be an assignment, whatever. Decide on what it is that you need to do. Now, it's always useful to work in 25-minute intervals. Why? Because it's been proven that our concentration span tends to diminish at 25-minute intervals. Think about it. You watch a film, within half an hour, you might not necessarily lose interest, your mind kind of drifts on what you've got on tomorrow, or you're going to make a cup of tea, or you might be watching a football match, and after half an hour, your mind starts drifting on making that tea at half time. So it's always useful to work roughly 25-30 minute intervals before you just break that concentration and that focus for 5 minutes or so, which is quite useful. So you work towards your outcome in 25 to 30 minute bursts. Then after that 30 minute burst, you give yourself 5 minutes. You might get up, shrug your shoulders, punch the air, take a deep breath and a bit of a stretch. Just 5 minutes. I'm not saying go away and have a brew for half an hour or make that phone call. You might just stretch, and refocus again. Then come back again and work for another half an hour or so, and then have another 5 minute stretch. Then come back again and work for another half an hour or so, and have a stretch, and then come back again another half an hour or so. When you've covered about 2 hours, it's more than likely time for a good 15-20 minute break. And obviously what you do in that break is entirely up to you. You might want to distract your mind completely, give yourself some time to relax and refocus. You might want to read your paper then. You might want to make that personal phone call then, when you've prioritised what you need to do, which is key. Or you might want to listen to an audio, motivational audio, MP3. You might want to make a call that's going to help you get to where you want to get to. That's entirely up to you. But I do suggest working in 25-30 minute bursts. I do suggest having a 5 minute break in between those 25-30 minutes, and by 2 hours I do certainly suggest having a good 15-20 minute break, which is quite useful. So okay, once again, decide the outcome you need to achieve, then work 25-30 minutes towards achieving the outcome, have that break, work again for 25-30 minutes, have that break for 5 minutes or so, and repeat that cycle 4 times, have a 15-20 minute break by the 2 hour mark. So give it a shot tomorrow and see how it goes. You might want to tweak it one way or the other, it's entirely up to you. You don't can't do anything you don't want to do. And in saying that, it's quite useful information for you going forward. Proximity, the people you're associated with. Your network is your net worth. Eliminate toxic people from your life. If people aren't helping you in any way, shape or form, where possible, eliminate. And you might be saying to me now, Jim, it's not as easy as that. You don't know my family. Look, we've all got people in our family that are negative, and we wouldn't be human. Yet in saying that, I'm not saying to eliminate them, love them dearly. Yet in saying that, also come out your comfort zone and associate with people who are going to help you get you to where you want to get. So you might join a speaking group. If you want to be a speaker, you might join a social group that shares the same interests as you, just to even get you out for one night a week and be around people who are like-minded. Because birds of a feather flock together, and bit by bit you'll start becoming the person you associate with more often than not. So if you associate with people who watch soaps every night, then you'll find yourself pretty much doing the same thing that they do. If you find yourself associated with people who eat chocolate biscuits all day, then you'll find yourself doing the same things that they do. If you associate with people who talk about negativity all the time, then you'll find yourself in a situation like that. And think about it, have you ever spoken to someone for a conversation and you walk away feeling drained? Have you been there before? Where you speak to someone and you walk away and you feel drained, your energy's all gone, and ultimately you speak to another person and you feel uplifted for what? No given reason. Because as human beings, we have our energy fields as well. And you might think that sounds a bit too airy-fairy, energy fields, but think about it for one moment. Have you walked into a room when there's been an argument and not know what's going on, and you can feel the atmosphere? So that's my case in point. Proximity is power. It's always useful to have as many people as you possibly can around you and support you in your dream. And equally, likewise, support them. Bounce off each other. And if you want to be a professional athlete, hang around people who want to be professional athletes as well. If you want to start a new business, hang around people who are driven as well, and who have got a successful business if you possibly can find them as well. You know, and for me, when I first started doing what I'm doing, it was a challenge. I grew up in a lot of negativity. It wasn't always as easy as that. But what I would do is I'd go to talks and seminars and meet people, read books, audios, These days you can watch YouTube, you can do a lot of things really to learn. And learn from the beliefs of people who are where you want to be. Because beliefs can either destroy us or they can help us and support us in where we want to go. And attitudes are contagious. Some people have got that negative attitude, and that's fine. If they want to be that way, then be my guest. But life is short, and ultimately I really believe that we owe it to ourselves to make sure we associate with people who are going to help us support our dream. No good being around people who are going to put you down all the time and who are negative. Some people wouldn't be happy no matter what the situation is. Ever been in a situation you've tried to help somebody, they don't want to help certain people, they just get gain from being pessimistic. No matter what you suggest to certain people, it doesn't matter. They thrive in that negativity and they'll drain every ounce of your energy. And before you know it, they'll take you down as well. And it might seem a bit cruel initially, yet in saying that, it's just like saving someone who's drowning. If you can't swim and you put your arm out and they drag you in, you'll both go down. If you grab a big stick and you offer to pull them out, they'll either take the stick and come out. Ultimately, in the end, if they don't, there's not a lot you can do. And I know that sounds not great, but that's life. That's the world we live in. If you don't save yourself, you're not going to be good to anybody else. And proximity is key. You surround yourself with negative, toxic people. Slowly but surely they will drain every ounce of energy you've got. They'll criticise you, and life is hard enough as it is to make it even more complicated. Life's challenging, it's not easy. I'm not one of these airy-fairy people who say, yeah, life's always a bed of roses. It's not. It can be very challenging. Like I said earlier, yet in saying that, the last thing you need is to surround yourself with people who are constantly negative towards what you want to do. The choice is yours. Keep going. You get no and rejection. It takes one yes. If you're in sales, if you're looking for a new job, if you keep knocking on that door, you knock harder and harder and harder, eventually it's going to open. Keep going. Persistence beats resistance. In my study of all the successful people I've ever seen, the one quality they had that was the difference between them being successful and other people not being very successful is the persistence and determination to keep going. We keep going, eventually the door will open and we'll get ourselves to where we want to get to. Sometimes it's not easy. You get up in the morning, you get rejected, you feel down, you feel deflated. Of course it can be very challenging, of course it can have an impact on you. Yet in saying that, you've got to always remind yourself. And when I do sales training, I always tell the sales staff, 1 becomes 2, 3, 4 and 5. Just keep going. You're one sale away from getting there. Keep positive, keep focused. Because you don't want to go into another meeting carrying the same thought process you had before if you're feeling rejection. Refocus again. Tomorrow's a new day, it's a fresh start. Keep going. Set a realistic and productive schedule. I'm not really a big fan of the word realistic because what is realistic? Yet in saying that, sometimes less is more. If you overwhelm yourself throughout the day with 100 things on a to-do list, then you're going to get overwhelmed and detract from it. As I said, less is more. Choose the outcomes that are going to help you get from A to B. Delegate, plan, focus. Accept sometimes you won't get everything done. Accept sometimes you'll have time left over. If you've got time left over, then you might want to celebrate. Go out there and pat yourself on the back, or you might use that time to get even more done. Start working on what you need to do the day after next. It's entirely up to you. Emails. The day that we live in, emails, modern technology is meant to make our life easier. For some people, they're making it more challenging. The first thing a lot of people do when they get into work is check their emails. They get into work at 9:30, and by 12 they're still checking their email, some people, before moving forward. Imagine, unless obviously your job is customer service, if you're in a proactive role, a new business, or in sales, an entrepreneur, then you want to be in a driving seat. So in the time it took you to read this, 20 emails are being sent in the world that we live in. So it's really important that we manage our emails really well. Because emails can be a great thing they can also be very detrimental if we get bogged down. One of the methods I use, and when I coach people, new business starts, people in business, is what we call the FAST method. File, action, save, trash. Really powerful method. So sometimes you file an email, so you might have different folders and segregate different folders in your, whether it be Outlook Express or whatever you use. I don't know what you use, it's entirely up to you. You've got different folders, different files. File an email. It might be you don't need to get back to someone straight away. You get back to them, put them in a folder a few days' time. It's entirely up to you. Okay, but it makes a lot of sense to use a file or files. Action, if it's a high priority, it could be that you need to urgently attend a meeting, deliver a presentation, a sales call, whatever it might be, sign a contract, and you prioritize that, which is obviously important. So you might need to action it. You'll always need to make time to action an email. You might have a specific time of day when you do that. You might check, and I'll talk about later on in the seminar, some key tips. You might decide that in any given day I'm going to check the emails at a certain time. There might be high priority emails, so you've got to get back to people pretty much straight away. It could be that someone's emailing you to book in an appointment, or like I said, a sales call, whatever it might be, and you've got to action that. It's high priority. And some things you can save as well for a later date, where you might need it at some point. You might not never need it, but you keep it there anyway. Save it in a folder or save it in your inbox, whatever. You might not even open it and just keep it there. It's entirely up to you. And some of these you've got to trash, get rid of. Okay, a really powerful method that you can use to run your day, because emails can be very detrimental. If you're still checking your emails for the best part of the day and you're sacrificing your outcomes, then ultimately it's going to cost you dearly. So a couple of tips, like I mentioned earlier, and you're more than welcome for, I'll email you a slide if you wish to, but some key things is to check maybe emails once a day or twice a day maximum. Really important. Because if you find yourself checking your emails every 5 minutes or every hour or so, then ultimately in the end you're not going to drive towards the outcomes you want. It's very unlikely an email needs to be attended to straight away unless you're in customer service. It can wait. Whether you check emails in the afternoon, in the middle of the day, whatever works for you really, but have a designated time where you go through your email and you do a process that we mentioned earlier, which is key. Okay, other point as well, have priorities. Be aware of your priorities, which emails you need to get in touch with, who you need to get in touch with in a certain time frame. So these are key things for you to think about as well. Sometimes don't respond, there's no need to respond. You don't have to respond to every email. There's no point, it's taking your time. You might think it's no great deal, but if you're getting a volume of 100, 200 emails a day and you're taking the time to respond to every email, sometimes that's almost like an hour or two out of your day. And that's sacrificing time towards the outcomes you want to achieve. Sometimes silence is golden. You get an email, there's no need to respond. No need. Aim to keep 1 minute on each email if possible. You might think, well, ultimately in the end, if I only spend a minute on an email, the email might come across as being blunt or short to the point. Sometimes we need to be very concise, but also what's really important too as well is maybe you might have a template you can copy and paste as well. There might be a high volume amount of emails you're sending throughout the day, so it might be worth having 3 or 4 different templates to save you time. Now, all of these will have a big impact in you moving forward. Learn how to say no as well. Run your own day. If someone tries to put something on your in-tray because they can't be bothered doing it themselves, and it's their role, their responsibility, it's about standing up and saying no. Be clear to your vision. If someone asks you to do something for them, sometimes you're doing them more worse than good than doing it for them. You've got to learn themselves. What outcomes you want throughout the day? Is it supporting where you want to get to? You think that person who puts that thing in the in-tray is bothered about you? More than likely not. Let him do it, but he doesn't even appreciate it. I'm sure you've come across some sort of people at work where, yeah, you'll do it, You'll do it, fine. You might not be able to do it. You might have other things to do. You might have your own priorities. But some people want to be pleasers and end up pleasing nobody. Nobody likes a pleaser. It's about you being focused, looking after yourself and your family and where you are and where you want to be. Because bit by bit this starts eating into your time. Okay, so learning to say no. So tomorrow might be a good time to start. If someone asks you to do something to support the outcome you're looking for, or it's not win-win, then learn to say no. Sorry, or don't have to say sorry, just no. Can't do it. Or not even bother replying to certain people because you're busy, you've got things to do. You don't owe anyone anything other than yourself. And think about it, your own email management. I know we've talked a lot about email, it's saying it's a big part of our day. What sort of percentage do you find yourself throughout the day dealing with emails? 10, 20, 30, 40%? I know we've all got different roles and different responsibilities, yet in saying that, you can decide yourself where you are on this level in terms of what you're doing with your emails. You might decide you're spending 70% on your emails. You want to bring that down to 10, 20% of your emails and start focusing on other things that you need to do to move forward, which is key. Now, creating boundaries and balance is really important. Boundaries in time management is key. This is my role, this is my responsibility, this is your role, this is your responsibility. You go into work tomorrow, people have got their roles and responsibilities, then make sure they're aware of that, or someone make sure they're aware of that. If you're a manager or leader, that's your role, your responsibility. You do it. That's what you get paid to do, you do it. No point passing the buck. You know, people, and I've done work as a consultant in businesses and people, you know, they cry, I can't do that, I know what I'm doing. Well, learn it. You know, you show them once is enough, twice, it's not your role. Go do some training, go learn it. It's all too easy to pass the buck. And these are the same people who find the time to call their friend at lunchtime or go shopping in the afternoon. Learn and take care of your own priorities is key. Create boundaries. Work, like the quote there says, by Gary Keller, a book I read, really useful book that I read as well. And he talks about work being like a rubber ball. If you drop it, it bounces back. The other four balls, family, health, friends, integrity, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, then you'll damage it. It'll get scuffed, nicked, perhaps even shattered. So you've got your own priorities to do as well. You've got someone phoning you up at 7 o'clock at night, your manager, or at 11:30 at night, or whatever it might be, or in the morning. Say, listen, these are my boundaries. I can be contacted in these hours. I need my balance. We've got someone calling on Sunday. I know sometimes needs must. Sometimes we've got to go the extra mile. Yet in saying that, sometimes people take liberties as well. And you've got to look after yourself because nobody else will. Because I can assure you now, your manager ain't going to be able to do much for you if you end up getting divorced because you neglect your family, or you end up losing your health because you're not training. And they'll be there for you. No one's going to be there to look after you. So you look after your own priorities. Really important you do that. Now, what I want you to do is to create a list of things that you want to do more of. So write a list of things you want to do more of and less of. So get your pen, get your paper, things that are the mostly productive for you. So it could be phoning existing clients, it could be phoning clients that you've worked with in the past, it could be making sales calls on those network meetings. So write things that you're going to do more of and things you're going to do less of. So it could be using the phone to make personal calls through the day, going to social media. So write a few different things, maybe just one of each, I don't know, as much as you can think of. Okay. So that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's seminar. I've really enjoyed delivering tonight's seminar. By all means, feel free to contact me.